Welcome to Tower Talks. I'm Jonathan Brunt, the government editor of the Spokesman-Review, and we're very happy today to have our Washington Secretary of State, Steve Hobbs. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
And in Olympia, our state government reporter, Mitch Roland, is also here today, so thank you, Mitch.
Nice to see you guys.
All right.
Thanks for doing this.
So, Secretary, you're in town because the state constitution is here.
Yes.
Explain why.
Well, because it's the state constitution, and people should see it and get to know it, and Washingtonians should know that they have a state constitution. And this is the first time it's been outside of Olympia, and the first time it's been on this side of the mountains. I think it's important that we show it all across the state. And so we're testing it out. Spokane is our test bed. And we'll see what happens at 3 o'clock today, but I'm hoping for a good crowd.
What
is there the potential to take it to other places in Eastern Washington?
Yes, absolutely.
What is this? Can you describe what it looks like?
Oh, well, it looks like a leather-bound book, fairly large leather-bound book. And when you see it, we will have it open on the first page. We'll have the preamble, and it goes into Article 1. And there's going to be two telegraphs you'll see there next to it. It will the two telegraphs, one is going to the governor-elect, and the other is going to the territorial governor.
And where is it normally kept?
It's normally kept in Olympia, in the archives building, in a dark, climate-controlled room.
Okay. So I know this is a nice way for outreach into your archives, but because of budget cuts this year, the state library was closed to the public.
Yes.
So explain why you took that measure and what that means for the people of the state who want to access important documents.
It's not just that. We also have the Washingtonian Book and Braille Library, which I think you have to make an appointment. Sadly, you can't just walk in there. Unfortunately, the state budget had a shortfall, and the legislature wouldn't give me the money. And then there was the federal government that withheld money based upon an executive order. And we could not get that money soon enough with the courts. We're winning, but in the meantime, we weren't receiving the funding. And so, unfortunately, we had to take a hit budget-wise. We did do some moving of some money around so that we could save as many librarians as we could, but we had to lay off a significant number of librarians, which is unfortunate. Hopefully, with this new revenue source that we received, which we passed to the legislature, hopefully we can slowly bring back our librarians.
So if you want to see something in the library, you just can't?
You're going to have to make an appointment. It's not regular hours like it was last time.
Mitch, do you have a question you'd like to ask?
Can you expand a little bit more on the revenue source that you're optimistic about?
Yeah, so we looked at the entire range of services that we provide in the state. And some of the services that we looked at that we have not been charging a fee is courts. So the Secretary of State's office, because we're in charge of archives, we take in all government records and we store them. We scan them, we put them up in the cloud, and we had not charged the courts. We've charged other agencies and counties, but we have not charged the courts, and so we passed a court fee so that we can start paying for that. Because just because it's on the cloud doesn't mean it's free. This all costs money. So we're trying to do some cost recovery, and that helped us that should help us free up some money for our librarians.
This was very recently, the Trump administration requested voter database lists here. A lot of this information is public information, has been for years, and it used to be some of the things that they requested are maybe now closed, but were recently, exact addresses used to be open, they're not now. Why is this a concern to you?
Because they asked for all the information, including restricted data. So in our state, there are state laws that protects certain personal information, so driver's license, last four social security number, your birth date, your email address, your phone number. And so the DOJ, Department of Justice, sent a letter to us saying we request all this information, including the restricted information, which is very unusual. I mean, we have never gotten a request from DOJ for the voter database. And so what we're doing in our office is we're looking at the letter, we're talking to the Attorney General's office, we're looking at state law and federal law, because we want to comply by the law. And that's what we're doing right now. Now, just looking at it right now, I don't see us releasing all that information. I have no problem working with the federal government and helping them maybe access the public information, but we really don't have the authority to give up that restricted information. And also, I don't think we would like to do that anyway, because most Washingtonians want to keep that to themselves, their driver's license number and all that. And plus, I am obligated to keep a lot of that secret as well. So, it's strange that this is happening now. They hit a lot of the swing district states, and then they went to the blue states. Several red states have been hit as well, about 26 states. And this is not just me being a Democrat, being obstinate, but also Republican secretaries of state, like the Mississippi Secretary of State, Republican. He's not going to give up that information.
Assuming most of this data the federal government already has, Social Security numbers, for instance, why do you think a voter in Washington should worry about that or not want that to happen?
Well, because having just more information out there where nefarious actors can access and attack and retrieve is not good for anyone. So you have increase of identity threat that could happen. I mean, the federal government is not, totally secure as well. They have been hit with cyber attacks. SolarWinds, I believe, they got hit in 2020. There was a breach, including a Department of Defense. And you're absolutely right. They have a lot of this information. So why retrieve it from us? I am trying to get more information out of them. We are requesting to know what they're going to do with the information because it's conflicting. So the letter says, I need you to comply with the maintenance of your voter database on one hand, but then on the other, you have in a Reuters story last week talking about, well, we're going to use this to go after non-citizens. So I would say to the federal government, if you want to work with us, then we'll help you with the public information, and then you, the federal government, with all your vast resources, you own the Social Security Agency, maybe you can figure out the rest on yourself. But I'm not going to help them get private information that the public does not want to release, Washingtonians don't want to release, and I have to make sure that I'm following the law. Because again, like I said, state law prohibits me from releasing this. That was a long answer. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. Mitch, do you have any further questions on this?
Yeah, so this latest request is just part of a broader kind of push by the federal government or attack against Washington's voter system, and some of the other states are heavily reliant on mail-in voting, just broadly speaking. Can you talk a little bit more about kind of what that does to voter confidence and ensuring that their elections are secure, and kind of what more could be done to increase that confidence?
Yeah, that's the ongoing battle that secretaries of state across the United States and voting election officials, such as Vicki Dalton, battle with. We want to ensure that the public knows what's going on because, let's face it, for about several decades, all we've been doing is telling people, don't forget to vote, don't forget to put your ballot in the drop box, in the mailbox, etc. What we haven't been doing is telling them, hey, did you know that your elections are secure because every signature is checked. We're part of the Electronic Registration Information Center, so all the data is checked with other states. Did you know you can go to your county auditor and actually see the counting happening with your own eyes? And because we didn't do that, people, came up with reasons why they lost the election. False narratives got generated, and then nation-state actors stepped in and kind of spread this information, enhanced it anyway. And so we're left with this situation that we're in now. And so we just got to do a better job of talking about the election process.
How do you do that?
So we started doing that about 2 years ago by doing the Mark the Ballot campaign. It's kind of a cartoon-like character, but people tend to gravitate to that. We also use, famous athletes, kind of people that the public will relate to rather than an elected official like myself, and talk about, hey, did you know that the elections, our elections are secure and accessible because X, Y, and Z. So that's what we're doing now, and not keeping this information to ourselves. Of course, we'll remind people when to vote, and I think that's important, but we really got to talk about all these procedures that we have in place that people just don't know about. I didn't even know about it. I'm Secretary of State. I didn't know we're part of ERIC. I didn't know we could track when somebody registers in another state. I didn't know that we would know when a ballot comes in if someone had passed away. We need to talk about that now.
The president has vowed to end mail-in ballot before the 2026 election. Do you have any fear he'll succeed at that?
I don't think he will, because he has no authority under the U.S. Constitution to do away with mail-in voting in the states. Nothing under Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution. Article 1 definitely points out that Congress can regulate federal elections, but for the most part, the Constitution says the states are responsible for the election. So Congress could perhaps do something like that, but they can't even pass the president's, I think there's a voting bill that's stuck in the Senate right now, the SAVE Act. Passed the House, but it's not passing the Senate because there's not enough votes to pass it. So I feel pretty good that he cannot affect our elections here in Washington State. That doesn't mean he won't try. And clearly he is trying. So we'll be ready for him. Whether we do a lawsuit against the administration or whatever executive order he does, or simply ignore his executive order and wait for his Department of Justice to try to form a case against our state when they have no authority to do so.
Similar issue in front of the Supreme Court about accepting ballots after Election Day, even if they have the postmark by Election Day. What's your take on that?
That worries me. It worries me greatly because we are obviously a vote-by-mail state. I think of the harm that will cause, senior citizens, someone with a disability. I think of my fellow brothers and sisters who serve in the military. I currently serve in the National Guard. I remember when I was deployed and having to do a mail-in ballot overseas. Now they get them 45 days out, but sometimes they're in a remote area and they're not going to get it till much later, even though the ballot was mailed out 45 days. So this is just an attempt to undermine mail-in voting in our state. So I hope we keep it like it is. We'll see what happens.
But there are states that do have the cutoff.
That's true. And those secretaries of state are trying to move to our system.
So would you expect like a certain percentage of votes to be thrown out as a result of something like that?
Oh, yes. I mean,
what is the estimate?
I would say, I believe talking to my elections director, I think anywhere, depending on the election, you're talking about maybe 30, 40%, maybe even higher than that. A lot of the ballot, most of the ballots,
40%.
Well, most of the ballots that you see that show up on election day that pop up, those are the ones that came in. So that's half usually, and then until certification, then the next half comes in.
But a state like Oregon, I don't know if they still have that rule, but at one time they had the cutoff right on election day,
and they changed that.
That, but they had to throw out 30 or 40% of their votes.
Oh, I don't know how their state does it. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how But you got to imagine, if you decide to do that now with our state, right, we have been socialized or inculcated, if you will, of our system. And so people know that as long as you get your ballot in before 8 p.m. or it's postmarked, on that Tuesday, it's going to be counted. So by upsetting that changes the whole dynamics, right? Because Oregon and Minnesota, who also does the same thing, they have had this history of like, okay, we know we got to try to mail it early. But that still disenfranchises people.
Mitch, do you have a question?
Switching gears a little bit, one of the proposals in the legislature this year, it's kind of come up again and again in recent years, the idea of allowing local elections in even-numbered years. This is something that you oppose and you testified against in committee. Can you expand a little bit more, touch a little bit on just kind of your opposition to the idea and what it could actually mean for Washington's election?
Yeah, so you got to go back to the history of this state. The history of this state is we start out in a populist kind of movement. Basically, that means at that time, they wanted to make sure that we voted for everything, including, the position of Secretary of State and Treasurer. I mean, other states, sometimes they're appointed. We also like to appoint or elect mosquito district commissioners, cemetery district commissioners. I mean, you name it. We vote on everything here in the state. So that means there's a lot more candidates, a lot more positions up for office. And so the ballots can be very long. And the history of this state, if you go back a couple of decades, we just voted in even year elections. That's exactly what we did. And the Secretary of State then and county auditors then noticed that there was a huge drop-off from the top of the ballot, and as you go down, there was a huge drop-off to the point where people were not voting in the races towards the bottom. So going back to those days is just going to cause a problem where people are not going to vote for those lower tier. They're just as important, in fact, more important, I would say, for like school board, drainage district commissioner. They're just not going to really vote for it. And then think of this, all the competition that happens during elections, right? I'm talking about your street corner, just all those yard signs, trying to be seen, right? And so you got all that going on. You've got competition to be on the airwaves, competition to be on the doors, the printers. Odd year elections allow for your local elected official to be seen and heard. And that's really their only time to do it. So, yes, very opposed to that. Also, you're going to have a situation where you have election workers who are not going to be exercising their craft on those odd year elections, which I think is a danger. We had the fentanyl in the envelopes, in the ballots. I think you might remember that. Happened during the odd year. We were able to change our procedures and update our security so that in the even year, we were prepared.
Speaking of, the election is soon underway. How do you feel about security and ballot security and all that this year?
I feel good about it, but I will say that sometimes new things pop up. As Secretary of State, we do receive briefings from the FBI, from Homeland Security, classified briefings. We talk to one another. We work with our federal partners and our local partners. And sometimes things come up that we didn't even expect. Last year was the ballot box blowing up in Clark County. Did not expect that. And so we try to constantly get ahead of it. We feel pretty good now, but we're always trying to war game what is the next thing that's going to happen. So I feel pretty good. The one thing that we're looking at right now is a report that the U.S. Postal Service may not pick up the mail in those big giant blue bins in the evening. Typically it's 5 o'clock or the afternoon. If they're not going to do that on election day, that's a big problem. Because that means if you put your ballot in there, let's say at noon or 1 o'clock on a Tuesday, thinking it's going to get counted, it will not get counted. Whereas before they would pick up in the afternoon or evening time. So we're trying to chase that down right now.
They're changing their pickup times?
Pickup times, yeah.
Across the state?
We're not sure. I just heard about it I don't know, about half an hour ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
So it's
some people
news.
still
There
do
you go.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're welcome,
Well, then
Spokesman-Review.
if that's something that would go forward and it would actually take effect, would you recommend then that somebody drops their ballot in a ballot box on election day just to ensure that's actually counted?
I would, and normally what I do anyway is I tell people is like, look, you better make sure that you know when your postal worker shows up to your mailbox, because you're coming back from work and you put your ballot in your mailbox, but the postal worker shows up at 1 p.m. Guess what? Your ballot's not going to count. So you should just go to the drop box. So I think what we're probably going to do is a combination of checking with the U.S. Postal Service if this is true, if there's a way they can accommodate. Because they will accommodate you sometimes, not all the time. And the other thing is just getting the word out. And we'll have to get the word out again, especially if that is true.
Mitch, do you have a question?
So then, are there any other kind of concerns that you're aware of or monitoring just for this upcoming election that you think you know about?
So the reduction of federal support with cybersecurity in elections in general is somewhat concerning. When the Trump administration took over, you had several firings or probably forced resignations of those working in the elections world. So in Homeland Security and in CISA, which is an element of Homeland Security that protects infrastructure, you had a lot of folks working in the elections division getting let go. So we had nowhere to go to. You also had an entire organization dedicated to cybersecurity, and this is now, it's kind of a pseudo federal agency. It's a nonprofit, but it's funded by the federal government, that helps with cybersecurity, and that was totally defunded. Now, just recently, another organization that has always been in existence that protects infrastructure has included elections. So we have made a deal with them.
What organization is that?
It's MSISAC. You're gonna probably ask for the acronym. I don't.
No, but is this a governmental?
No, what it is, it's a non. I call it an NGO, non-governmental organization. It's really a nonprofit, but it's funded by the government, and it's a collection of states that are all in this to protect the infrastructure.
So how are you feeling about that now?
Well, I mean, the problem is we're looped in with everybody else, and elections, we're kind of a unique situation, because obviously there's a short period of time where anything that happens could be a huge vulnerability. If we get attacked on I'm trying to think of it. We seem to run a lot of elections here in the state, but let's say we get hit, late January, that could be, maybe not so much of a problem. But if we get hit in late October, that's a problem. And it's nice that the previous organization, it's called ESISAC, they were aware of that. But the threat never goes away. And that's what concerns me. As the administration tries to figure out this transition, and it's not unusual that administrations change and do this transition, the actors don't stop what they're doing. Russia, China, North Korea, extreme violent organizations will continue to attack. And so we have to stay vigilant to that. Clark County got taken out for 100 hours, probably by a nation-state actor. It took the FBI, Homeland Security, CISA, and the Secretary of State's office to get them back running and operational. If that happened today, it'd probably take another 100 hours, probably 200 hours before we get it operational again.
You said you still have contact with FBI and federal officials on security matters?
We still talk to them, but the expertise that was there before is no longer there.
There's seems to be a growing movement to get rid of vote counting machines, and I'd like you to talk about why they might be important and what would happen if you didn't have vote counting machines.
Well, so I don't know why they want to get rid of vote counting machines. I will say they because Trump mentioned it. It makes no sense to me. Actually, vote counting machines are very, very accurate. And in fact, we test them anyway. We test them before with logic and accuracy tests. We also test them after when we do these audits, and they've always been accurate. There is the human element, but the human element sometimes makes mistakes. And so luckily in this state, we use both because I know not everybody feels comfortable with machines. So we got to have the machines do this because we have 5 million voters. Not all 5 million vote, but on those presidential election years, it will take forever to count these.
Do you have any idea
ballots.
how long it would take to count the ballots
in
say King County?
I don't know, but it would be very long, very, very long. Yeah.
Okay, Mitch, do you have a question?
I don't have a serious one. I do have one last joke one, just as we're wrapping up here. So if there's any other topics.
Well, let me actually get to a different one that's not a joke at all first. Last week there was a political assassination. We've seen the Minnesota State Speaker of the House assassinated.
Yeah.
Trump was shot at. The Pennsylvania governor's house was targeted.
Yeah.
We're in a pretty shaky time politically. What are your concerns as an elected leader and as a public figure?
I tell you what, my concerns are not necessarily public figure, just me as an American citizen, very concerned. You've got this polarization happening. There doesn't seem to be a middle. People are not being civil. It kind of reminds me when I was a soldier deployed to Kosovo in Iraq, which is crazy because this is the United States of America and we have this polarization that's happening. Now, I can tell that you and I are older gentlemen, and we remember a time when there was 3 news stations, ABC, CBS, and NBC. And what was the competition for those news agencies? It was about who could get the most accurate news at a timely manner. That was the competition. What is the competition now with news and social media? That we add social media to it. It's what favors your ideology. What makes you feel good, not necessarily what is accurate and timely. And unfortunately, I see a lot of people moving towards that. Now, I can't really solve it, but it makes me sad. And I'm glad you and others are continuing this effort to, inform the public. But it's even hard for the Spokesman-Review, right? There's a lot of newspapers going out of business. I mean, we look at the local landscape of local newspapers and local weeklies, they're going out. So it's just a sad state of affairs. And I really hope that maybe this will be a wake-up call for people out there that, political violence, that's not going to solve anything. Sitting down and listening to people and trying to view the world in their lens, I hope will cause more civility.
Are you optimistic on that front?
Well, yeah, I think that you're seeing some leadership, not necessarily the president, but you are seeing some leadership by Republicans and Democrats to bring calm to the American people. So you have to have hope because you don't want to have despair. Because where are we going to go from this? If there's just despair, it's going to be very bad. You got to have hope.
All right, thank you. Is now unless you had anything else on that.
No,
topic.
can we talk about something happy? Oh my gosh,
So, Mitch,
got me
go
down.
So we can end here on a little bit more of a positive note, just in a completely different direction. In the 2004 film National Treasure with Nick Cage, it centers around a secret map on the back of the Declaration of Independence. Have you checked the Washington State Constitution to see if there's any other secret meanings to it?
So all I can say, because I have seen the state constitution, the original state constitution, And I can tell you that there's something that the Constitution is definitely there at your Spokane Library, and that you should see it. Unfortunately, I don't think anyone's going to hear this right now, but I'm hoping to come back. So there you go. That's my answer.
I didn't hear what your answer was, though. So
I know.
It is. You're saying it's the real Constitution.
Well, what I'm saying is that if you look at the Sorry, I'm drinking this water. No, there's nothing there.
Okay. No secrets.
No secrets. So.
Okay. Well, Secretary, I appreciate you coming in today.
Yeah.
And I hope you get a good turnout to see the state constitution. I hope to go later.
Oh,
and see
good.
it too.
Good. It is news.
Yes, and we'll have a reporter there. So I appreciate it, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you so much.